Good morning and welcome back to Bowl TV for the 2016 USBC Senior Masters. We are in the opening round of match play. This is one half of the bracket of 64. And our featured matches today to kick things off. Our top overall seed, Parker Bone III, putting on a record performance throughout his 15 games of qualifying here at Samstown, taking on Brian Kretzer, the last player to sneak into the field. Kretzer used a plus total of 140 for his 15 games to sneak into the number. His reward, Parker Bone, who's averaged more than 247 throughout the entire house. Through the burn, double burn, and fresh conditions, these competitors saw through qualifying 40 feet the length of the pattern this week. Back on the fresh. Our other match, Hall of Famer Johnny Petraglia finished qualifying in 4th place, taking on our 61 seed, Chuck Fashaw. Joining us from Deep Haven, Minnesota. Chuck, 3-time USBC Open Championships Eagle winner. Looking to make some noise here. However, early open in the second against the Hall of Famer. Johnny delivers the double. These are 3-game matches with total pinfall, determining who moves on to the next round and who's going to the elimination bracket in the double elimination format we have here. So there's a quick rundown of what's going on in front of us. I'm Aaron Smith alongside Matt Cannizzaro. Good morning, sir.
Hi guys, hi everybody, and welcome to Bowl TV. The exciting, guaranteed to be some excitement, double elimination match play portion of this event. Many storylines in the field today. Aaron already mentioned it, Parker Bone with his record run in qualifying. The 15-game record here at the Senior Masters, 37-12, an average of more than 247. And he also holds that record at the USBC Masters, where he's a winner in 2001. And should he be able to win this event, he would become the 3rd player in history, joining Dave Sutar and Walter Ray Williams Jr. as the only players to win both the Masters and the Senior Masters. We are a long way from writing that story. And Little Monticelli in the field as well, our defending champ, looking to become the first player since 2007. Tom Baker, the Hall of Famer, to win back-to-back USBC Senior Masters titles. And in our first match here, Parker and Brian Kretzer. Kretzer earning the number 64 seed, sneaking in. Shot 166 in his final game of qualifying. Had a tough block yesterday and just got there. Snuck in as the number 64 seed. And I think many would expect in this situation for Parker, obviously the record setter, to have a huge advantage. There was some joking around earlier about that, but this is sports, and especially at this level, both Kretzer and Parker very capable competitors. So the 164, the upset, definitely not impossible or unlikely. So we'll see right now. And I'm thinking the match play portion of this event compared to qualifying, strategy actually comes into play a little bit, kind of important. Especially here on our first round. The lane's freshly oiled for all the competitors. So the opportunity, especially on 19 and 20 here, well actually, you figure one lefty, one righty. So you're trying to break the lanes down a little bit in a way that will play to your advantage, whether it's throwing surface up the outside to create some room to the out, or plastic to create a little bit of hold, or whatever the deal. But these guys both had the opportunity to kind of try to set things up in a way that would help them. And on 21 and 22, 2 left-handers. So a little bit different strategy there. And of course, as you see there with Petraglia, after the 3-bagger, the miscue on the spare. The 247, any combination challenging, of course. But at this level, at this portion of the event, definitely cannot give away pins at any point. So Vishal working on a double now. Could close this one up. And we'll roll along here. Again, 3-game matches. Total pins determine the winners, who advanced. Parker Bowen after the open to start. Now a 4-bagger. So he definitely has the confidence. Mentioned that he does have a few different game plans out there, some possibilities and different looks, things that he saw over the course of the 3 days. And Kretzer, kind of a nothing to lose at this point. I was able to get into the bracket, and now looking to take a visit to Upset City here. In between matches, we'll have the second half of the bracket coming up next. Lanes will be oiled again, so they get a fair crack at it. Get a chance at the same scoring environment. So that's the rundown. And after today, we'll have 16 undefeated players. And match play will continue throughout the day tomorrow until we have 5 left for the stepladder finals, which will be live here on Bowl TV Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 o'clock if you are in town and want to come out and check it out. I'm sure we'll have a standing room only crowd here at Samstown Bowling Center, watching the best compete. Last year's stepladder was phenomenal, and Little Monticelli defeated top seed Pete Weber twice to earn the trophy and top prize. Stepladder also included Rick Steelsmith, Brian Voss, and Walter Ray Williams Jr. So star-studded. It was like ESPN Classic, but live and in person. And a lot of great players among the 64 here. If you want to check out the standings and the bracket, you can visit bowl.com/Senior Masters and follow along. That'll be updated after each round, so you can see what's what, who's taking on who. Petraglia gets that one back from downtown. Was looking for a double, but the 10 won't go. So now we've got ourselves a match here. Again, this is game 1 of 3. Here's Parker looking for 5 in a row. Can't say that I'm surprised with the start so far. We saw Parker throw a lot of strikes this week. Yesterday he had the high block of all 263 competitors, 1286. That included 288 in game 2 and 289 in game 5. And I was there to witness both of those on video as he made 2 runs at perfect games. And we did have 2 300s this week. Jim Murdersaw and Stephen Brinkman, both perfect here on the big stage for senior bowlers.
Parker makes it 6 in a row. We talked a little bit about the strategy coming out here. Obviously, Parker's been good on everything, and on average 247 across the 56-lane venue by not having a good look. But Brian Kretzer started on the fresh yesterday and did find those struggles and held on to that final spot. Saw in practice he actually started with a plastic ball, trying to create a little bit of hold for himself in the quick 10 minutes of practice they had. Using something with a little bit of surface, playing the outside part of the lane. Hasn't missed on 19 to this point, but 20 not cooperating on a 200 pace. Probably not going to be enough, so see if Brian can get going here on his good lane and try for a big finish.
So he does 200 against Parker. Best that's going to get you is a 40-pin deficit going into the next game. Kretzer, I mentioned yesterday on the fresh, 177, 192, 180, 164, I'm sorry, 232 and 166. So 931 total for 5, minus 69 after going 1094 and 1115 over the first 2 days. He was the cut number at plus 140, a 209.33 average. And Parker finishing nearly 600 pins ahead of him in qualifying. That is a pretty wild difference there, but now both players coming into this match even. All pinfall has dropped, so it's head-to-head, 3 games, 2 talented players, 2 PBA champions. They both been there before. Parker, 35-time winner on the PBA Tour. 3 titles on the PBA 50 Tour. He is 52 years old. And now out to a huge advantage here in game number 1. And Parker on the fresh yesterday. No, not yesterday. The first day got off to a huge start. 12:58 on the fresh. And 12:86 on the burn yesterday. So gets that one left. And so 2 mistakes here in the opening game. Otherwise perfect.
Essentially all knotted up over on 21 and 22. Both players can max out at 245 this game. Got a chance to talk to Chuck Vashaw for a quick minute before we started here today. He was on the final block yesterday, and he was actually 1 pair to our left on 17 and 18 and missed a 10 pin. And at the moment, he thought that was it for him. Thought if he made the spare, he's going to be good. Ends up missing it. Has to play the waiting game. Luckily, he had a few pins to work with. Finished at plus 148. The cut, as we mentioned, plus 140. But Chuck said spare game hasn't been all that great here at Samstown. But brand new day. He's getting to bowl his idol, Johnny Petraglia. So a cool moment just in that. But let's see what Chuck can do here.
There's that 10 pin again. See if he learned something yesterday. That's a tough situation too when you know you're around the number. It's a high pressure shot for sure. Whether you have to strike to make it or make a spare, I don't know which one's tougher. But he's here nonetheless, and an opportunity as one of the 64 remaining players. We started the week with 263. Everybody bowled 15 games. 66 prize checks given out this week. Prize fund of more than $131,000. 16 grand going to the winner. Kretzer with the split in the 10th. I don't know if he was kind of mentally out of it a little bit going in, knowing how well Parker bowled this week. That's a tough one. Coming into this match, trying to be confident. Nice pickup though. And with Parker's 2 opens, Kretzer only going to find himself down 30 or 40 pins here with 2 games to go. So once things get loose and get going, we've seen him throw plenty of strikes. And our other match, Vashaw with a pair of spares here to close. He can get to 214.
Taking a quick look at live scoring over on 51 and 52. Bob Learn Jr. taking on Steve Brinkman. Both of them started with the front 7. Brinkman added one in the 8th. Learn unable to, but actually strike out to have a 1-pin advantage since Steve left an 8 count in frame number 9. So the potential of a 279 to 278 matchup, but looks like Bob unable to strike second offering in the 10th. Still going to be 260, so that's going to be a doozy over on 51 and 52. Once again, live scoring available, bowl.com/Senior Masters. You can also go into the description below the video and find a link there.
I think that's something we'll definitely see throughout the day. You know, some higher scoring matches. obviously those guys tossing a lot of strikes, and we'll see somewhere somebody could win with 540. And the cool part about this is what the other people are doing doesn't matter one bit. It's you and your opponent on one pair of lanes. Some lanes may yield higher scores. Petraglia stones the 8. Looking for 2 in a row in the 10th, denied. But the worst thing you can do is look around and wonder that you just lost with 680. But somebody won down the street here with 540. It's just the nature of the event and the format. Just gotta focus on your pair, and maybe not even on your opponent. Just you and the pins.
Johnny Petraglia, a 23 pin advantage after one, 234 to 211, ahead of Charles Vachon. I just had to take a look, Matt. Parker Bone, 231, not his low game of the tournament, because I honestly was not sure if that would be or not. But 231 to 197. Parker plus 34 after one.
So 56 lanes here at Samstown Bowling Center. Other matches going on right now. Stoney Baker and Craig Miller. Dave Arnold and Warren Nelson. Battle of Hall of Famers, Norm Duke and Harry Sullins, taking place just to our left. That match, 2 pin difference in the 9th frame. Sullins leading Duke by 2 pins. Got Eric Forkel, the left-hander, and Marv Sargent. Things not going well for Forkel early in game 1. Obviously, you're watching Parker Bone and Brian Crester here, number 1 versus number 64. Parker with a 33-34 pin advantage. Johnny Petraglia, Chuck Vachon, John Donovan, and Klaus Lischka from Germany. Donovan, a rookie on the PBA 50 Tour, had a great week. Qualified in the top 5 with his idols, Bone and Petraglia. Bone also his roommate this week, so pretty neat to see 2 of the top 5 bowlers kind of kicking back and sharing their stories of the week. Our defending champ, Enleto Monticelli, taking on Scott Granier, down on 27 and 8. And Enleto leading by about 15. 2012 winner Mike Edwards and Mike Lucenti down on 31 and 32. Voss is boss. Voss and Walter Ray Williams Jr. A great first round match down there. Voss 243. Best Walter can do is 213. Jack Jurek and Sam Ventura. Jurek out to a 257 start, and Ventura will be in the 160, so nearly 100 pin advantage for Jurek going into game 2. David Sirigliano and Skip Wolf on 39 and 40. Very low scoring match there. Looks like it's going to be a 170-170. Andy Nauer and Darren Peters. Brian Goebel and Mark Hankin. Goebel 277, Hankin 168. So there's digging a hole early with 2 games to go. Brian LeClaire and Roger Cossert. And Aaron already mentioned Steve Brinkman and Bob Learn Jr. Brinkman 266, Bob Learn Jr. 268. So both bowlers starting with strikes here in game number 2. We'll keep an eye on that as well. We'll turn our attention back now to our featured matches. 19 and 20, Parker Bone, the number 1 seed, taking on number 64, Brian Kretzer, both with doubles. Here to start game 2, Parker Bone advantage by 34. And Johnny Petraglia and Chuck Vachon. Pretty close match here, and Petraglia and Bone talking strategy, it looks like, here behind the lanes in between shots. Vachon and Petraglia exchanging opens here in the first 2 frames.
Are you sure they're talking strategy or about all the great eating opportunities, perhaps in Jackson, New Jersey, both hailing from the same town.
It's true.
You never
Talking
know.
about pizza and bagels and all things East Coast. I imagine at this point in the week with all the great bowling they did, not too much strategy to talk about. Seems like everything they did was correct, so just keep on keeping on.
Yeah, at this point, got to feel that essentially for Parker, he, as we mentioned, he's dominated wire to wire here. Just a matter of execution at this point. Obviously,
and a little bit of luck.
Obviously, the arm swing's loose, getting pins flying around just like that. So, at this point, you almost feel that Parker's biggest opponent might be Parker.
Seems like making a mistake, you pay the ultimate price on this challenging 40-foot lane. Can we say it's challenging when Parker averaged 247? I think for most players, it definitely tests your shot-making ability. And we saw with Vashaw, spare-making abilities, very important to fill frames. You never know when that one miscue is going to be the difference, especially if it's a careless mistake. But as you saw there, Parker's misses seem to be to the left. And lucky to only leave the 3-pin there, but it's either going to be a washout or a 3-7, 3-6-7 as the mistakes. Just get a little bit fast. Maybe a little open with the shoulders. Get the ball going left, never makes it back. Pretty easy to do. We saw his roommate do that with an opportunity to lead the first round. Had 9 consecutive strikes to start the game. Just needed the 10th one to get around Parker. And zipped it down there pretty good. Never made it back. Washout for 272. So it's pretty easy to do on these flatter sport type conditions. If you miss out, you're going to get hang. If you cut it short, get it in, definitely going to check up on you. But for Parker, again, most of his misses will be to the left. But an advantage here, or an opportunity here for Kretzer to take advantage of the non-strike from Parker and try to close down that 34-pin deficit. Shaw also with a chance to make up some pins here with a double. Goes high, gets a nice break though. Almost 8-10 right there. He almost, something Aaron Smith is probably familiar with, but not as a left-hander. We don't see those a lot. High flush. Lucky to leave only the 10-pin. Kretzer now.
I was going to say, that shot didn't look like he was necessarily happy with it off his hand. Looked like it got a little bit further right than intended, but he's been able to create a little bit of room to the right on that pair, and all of a sudden the 2010 Go Arvine Match Play Championship winner, the PBA Tour, 5 in a row.
Well, Kretzer coming in knowing on paper probably had a disadvantage coming into this game against Parker. He was lined up all week. Kretzer was among the first players here. He was working on his equipment. You mentioned the surface on that bowling ball. He was adjusting that surface for quite some time. Worked on creating a little bit of room to the outside part of the lane. And I think probably his strength would be moving a little bit left and creating a little bit of an angle too, throwing the ball to the right, as opposed to Parker, who's going to be a little bit straighter up the outside part of the lane. And with one lefty, one righty, the opportunity to set it up, what works best for you. And for Kretzer, everything seems to be working here in game 2. But Parker not letting up. Fashaw, another open on the left lane. Traglia, big opportunity here, working on a strike. High flush 7-pin. Down on our high scoring match on 51-2. Bob Learn with the front 5 now against Brinkman. Brinkman 9- in the second frame, falling behind here early. Mr. 300, Bob Learn. 268 start. Here's Petraglia. Big advantage here in game 2, looking for 3 in a row. Rings the 7. Great shot from the Hall of Famer. Same result for Kretzer, another terrific shot. 10 won't go. Just like that, game 2 advantage Parker.
Can certainly go quick when everyone's striking so much. Yeah, Kretzer, 2 great shots there, and upper deck 7 and rings at 10.
And the other half of our winners bracket here, the first round of match play will take place at 11:30 our time.
There will be a re-oil, so we'll go ahead and shut the cameras off for a quick second as we prepare for that round.
56 lanes here at Samstown, so the need to split our top 64 into 2 rounds. So we'll have the 11:30 other half of the bracket, and then all winners will return on the burn at 1:30, and then they are done. So if you go 2-0 today, your day is over until 9 a.m. tomorrow. Chance to regroup and rest and enjoy Las Vegas a little bit, or watch some of the elimination bracket.
Well, having lived in Las Vegas now since March, there's nothing to do here. So I don't even know why people come out here. But Parker Bone looking to cruise. For those of you looking ahead to who we'll have here on Bowl TV in that second winners bracket round, we have the 1-4 seed, so we'll go with the 2-3 for next round. Pete Weber, Hall of Famer, on a ridiculous tear on the PBA 50 Tour the past few weeks. He'll be taking on Kevin Anderson in the 263 match. That'll be on 19 and 20. On 21 and 22, Rick Steelsmith be taking on Robert Brown. So that's the 362 match. Once again, scheduled to start 11:30 local time here in Las Vegas, 2:30 Eastern.
So Parker Bone rolling now. He's got 7 out of 8. Kretzer. The carry has gone away. 3 consecutive 9 spares. Even though he's bowling a terrific game here, falling behind. And our other pair, 21 and 22 with the 2 left-handers, getting a little bit messy. Petraglia right now just filling frames and able to stay ahead.
Nice shot from Kretzer in frame number 9. He can max out at 257 still, but as you mentioned, he wouldn't necessarily gain any ground. Parker could throw a 9 spare in here somewhere and still add on to his add on to his advantage. There we go. Heading into the finale.
Now we've advanced to our top 64. Very familiar names, very capable players. Upsets, definitely not surprising at this stage of the game. Brian Goebel continues his tear, down on 45 and 6, started with 277. Now still on 270 pace here in game 2.
That strike, Parker's going to be at least in the 260s now, so he's going to build on that lead. Was up 34 after 1.
I know, Aaron, that 9 count in the 4th frame, it seems like Parker was just teasing Brian Kretzer a little bit.
Parker is a bit of a jokester, so.
I mean, this is certainly how it should be. The number 1 seed taking on number 64. It was not that way for a long time, believe it or not. The original Masters bracket was a little wacky.
I do recall that.
I'm not sure there was some logic to it when it originally was created. Without knowing those folks back in 1951, hard to know what they were doing, but since going to the true 1 versus 64, we heard a gasp in the crowd from Parker missing that 7-pin by 10 feet, but it was a scouting mission on that shot, trying something different to see what would happen, giving up the 1 pin. But anyway, the bracket 1 versus 64, kind of a reward for the number 1 seed. You would think, in theory, on paper, that having a 600 pin advantage in qualifying would translate to an advantage of some sort in match play. That kind of is the case here in this match, but again, both bowlers PBA champions, very capable. Chaglia, yeah. Leading by 22 here in game 2. Just left the 4-6-10. So gonna cut into that number. Kretzer still striking to stay close. We can get to 257. It's only gonna fall back 10 more pins here in game 2. Well, very well this game. Carey just not on his side. 3-frame stretch there, 6, 7, and 8. Easily could have been 300.
7-pin and a pair of 10s. Traglia bounces back and get to 191. So he's going to add on to his lead pretty much regardless here. Spare would be 181 best. Charles Shaw can do 180. Nice 257 for Kretzer, but as you mentioned, going to drop it 10 more pins, 498 to 454. So 44 pin advantage for our top seed heading into the finale. Late trip of the 8 for Johnny.
Big double there, though. Tack on another 10 pins here against Vishaw. Parker 498, Kretzer 454.
So what you're telling me is Parker can only shoot 798?
Bit of a slacker here in the opening match. But as he said yesterday, all the pins in qualifying, it don't matter. It doesn't matter that he was 600 pins ahead of Brian Kretzer. Doesn't matter that he averaged 247. All that he needs to do at this point is knock down one pin more than his opponent. I'm not sure he's even worried about who that opponent is here in match play. And whether he's going to shoot 515 or 815, as long as the other guy has one pin less, that is all Parker is worried about.
Traglia in the books, 191. He's at 425 after 2. Two more strikes for Chuck. He'd be at 391. So Traglia at least a 36 pin advantage. .34 pin advantage, excuse me. Heading into game 3, we definitely know you can never expect what's going to happen in game 3. Seen some folks make some big comebacks, whether it's here at the Senior Masters, regular Masters, Queens, Senior Queens. This format, you never know until it's mathematically in the books.
Aaron, if you look at our three left-handers on our featured pairs here, ball speed being pretty relevant here on the fresh. Parker throwing the ball significantly harder than Petraglia and Vashaw. And a tough break there, the high 10 pin. So Kretzer putting on the pressure here. Perhaps the first pressure Parker's feeling all week long. But for our two left-handers on 21 and 2, much slower ball speed. And the ball seemingly much more responsive down the lane on that friction. So a lot of through the face shots. Whereas Parker throwing the shinier equipment here in the opening match, able to get the ball down the lane farther. A little more angular on the back as opposed to jerky off the spot. Also, a little bit different having two lefties compared to one, and Petraglia gets that one left and leaving just the 7. There's Bone. 45 pin lead coming into game number 3. Kretzer already has cut into that with the double to start. Question is, will Parker miss again? See if Kretzer can take advantage of that 10 pin by Parker in the second frame. And the fast 8. Like that one was a little bit slow. He's talking through it now. So at this point, Kretzer's picked up 8 pins on Parker. Shaw coming into this game down 45. Trying to get into that must-strike situation. Double here would be huge for the 3-time Eagle winner. Kretzer delivers 3 out of 4.
Petraglia bounces back. Strike in the second. 45 pin advantage for him heading into this final game.
If you are curious about our other matches, visit bowl.com/Senior Masters. Click on the 2016 results tab, and you'll see a link to the live scoring here at Samstown Bowling Center. You can follow your favorite players across this 56-lane house. Also check out the bracket there. See who's playing against who in our opening round. This is live coverage of the 2016 USBC Senior Masters. Matt Cannizzaro, Aaron Smith. Watching Parker Bone, number 1 seed, take on number 64, Brian Kretzer. And the Hall of Famer, Johnny Petraglia, taking on Chuck Vishaw, a Minnesota legend. Parker rolling here, 45 pin advantage. Coming into this game, and now a 3-bagger to extend. Both Vishaw and Kretzer running out of room here, as their opponents are striking, chatting in between frames.
I find it interesting because I'm very particular to where I'm sitting at, and I think just everyone wants to sit next to Johnny. That's the thing. Johnny's been sitting at the table in front of us here. You can't see it from the Bowl TV camera, but both Kretzer and Bone sitting in the same seat. Depending on who is up at the plate. Matt hoping they behave for a quick photo. Those two could probably share a story or two. Kretzer with the spare in the 6th frame drops his max score to 257. So what he had last game. However, that means Parker would have to be in the low 2 teens for Brian to have a chance. Parker has shown no signs of slowing down, however.
I think the only 2 teens Parker's going to see in the near future is his kids.
Ha.
He is continuing to strike. Him and Petraglia putting these 2 out of reach, I think, as we get to the back half of the final game.
Yeah, definitely 2 of our quicker matches going on. Here across Samstown, looking around. Trouble for Petraglia. 4 through the nose.
Well, all too familiar for Mr. Petraglia in front of the live stream cameras. Had a chance to advance to the title match of the ITRC Super Senior Classic last weekend. Needed 9 dash at worst to secure his spot in the final, and this is what he left. He went 4-4 in the 10th, fell to eventual champion Yajima. 245, 239 in that game. Ujima went on to beat Ron Moore for the title. So again, those misses have been super messy. But still leading here, going into the back half of the finale. Kretzer, nice break, but probably a little bit too late against Parker Bone.
Parker has essentially locked up this match. As you talked about earlier, Matt, for Brian Kretzer, he's going to shoot, you know, possibly 700 here. Could still get 700 plus, and just ran into a buzzsaw. Just got to take what the pair gives you and learn from this. He's going to get the ball on the fresh again in the elimination bracket. So definitely made some good moves here to kind of figure out what was giving him trouble yesterday. And now he'll have to take that into his next match. But for Brian, with the double elimination format, not completely out of it, but just has a little bit more work to do now.
Aaron, I would say based on what we've seen in the last 3 days, I don't think most are surprised with the outcome or the performance from Parker Bone here. I think Kretzer knew it was going to take probably his best 3 games of the week to get around Parker Bone here in the opening match. And you can't win it if you're not in it. Very cliche, but it's true. He was able to sneak into the cut, and now still will be among the 64 players with a chance to win this thing. And the road's a little bit longer, but learning each round. He'll be back on the lanes later today. Not sure if there's an injury here as well. It seems to be favoring that left hip. We saw him stretching earlier. Maybe a little bit off camera there, doing the same. Certainly not an unfamiliar sight at the Senior Masters. I'm pretty sure 1 or 2 bottles of Aleve secured by these players this week, but it's early, getting loose. Got a lot of bowling left to do today. Parker Bone looking to have an easy day. All of our winners, 16 players, will be undefeated after 2 rounds today and be done until tomorrow morning.
246 for Brian Kretzer. Gets him 700 on the nose.
And that 700 might be enough to win half the other matches at least.
Parker can strike out and still get to 778. Which would improve his average for the week by just a little bit. Charles Shaw running out of frames as well here. Started with 3 out of 4 strikes, but 3 consecutive spares. Johnny's responded with a double after the 4-4 in the 5th.
Parker Bone relentless. Again, teasing Kretzer in frame number 2. What a performance from our tournament leader. Set the 15-game record in qualifying, 37-12. Averaged more than 247 over 15 games. And raising his average for the week here in a 778-700 win over number 64 seed Brian Kretzer. Again, that's 700, probably enough to win half or more of the matches across the house, but the disadvantage of pulling against the hot hand at the Senior Masters. Petraglia rolling, tosses 3 in a row.
See if we can get you a few updates and other matches going on in the house as we wrap up here on 21 and 22. Stony Baker up 434 to 374 on Craig Miller on 7 and 8. Dave Arnold with the advantage over Warren Nelson. Struggles for Warren early on. He was at 330 after 2. Dave Arnold was plus. Harry Sullins held the slight advantage going into game 3 against Norm Duke. Duke, however, starting with 4 consecutive strikes. Looks like he just delivered number 5 over on 13 and 14. Pretty close between Marv Sargent and Eric Forkel as they hit the beginning part of game number 3. Have a pretty tight match between our defending champion Amleto Monticelli and Scott Greiner. Monticelli can strike out to get to 651. Greiner can strike out to get to 652 if my math's right. Holy cow. That's over on 27 and 28. Another close match, Mike Edwards and Mike Lucente. Brian Voss is looking pretty good against Walter Ray Williams Jr. They're in the 8th frame over on 33 and 34. Looks like Jack Jurek is going to punch his ticket to the next round against Sam Ventura. Pretty tight match, Dave Sirigliano and Skip Wolf. Darren Peters, Andrew Newar, once again, too close to tell. Brian Goebel looking to get pretty close to Parker's number. He's going to win against Mark Hankin.
How about this Steve Brinkman? Shot 300 this week, down on 51 and 2. He's got 290 going into the 10th. Bob Learn opened in the 10th for 188. Looks like 699 total. Brinkman gets the first one. The scoring system, a little bit challenging. Not giving you a game by game.
Yeah, it does have a running total. However, if you're on a string of strikes, it doesn't necessarily go frame by frame. So Brinkman says he has 464. However, that's only because he had 20 pins from the first frame added in. Final score here on 21 and 22, 643 to 592. Johnny Petraglia over Charles Shaw. So that's going to do it for our featured pairs here at the moment. That match between Scott Greiner and Leto Monticelli, that's in the 10th frame. I don't know if we can get the camera over there. Greiner shot 267. We'll get him to 641. Monticelli would need at least the first strike in the 10th.
Brakeman wins 734, 699 over Lerner with the 290 finish. There's some excitement down on the high end and some excitement nearby with a huge pillar in our way here.
So our defending champion on the ropes here in the first round. Got the first strike in the 10th. If he were to go, let's see what happens if he goes 9 spare here. So much math here in the early morning. Be 214 for the game. Gets it. Don't think we have to worry about that now. He's going to be in the 650s. And Leto surviving a scare here in the early going. Just needs to keep it on the lane now. I think if he would have gone 9 spare there, he would have lost by 1.
That's what I was saying. Looking at the scoring system, you tack on 60 to what you see there, 651. And 9 spare would have given him 640. So a huge shot. He threw a lot of huge shots last year to even get there. Having to look back, there was a missed 10 pin that could have been disastrous, and then a clutch 300 to make the show.
So and Leto survives. Scott Greiner, big final game to put the pressure on. Needed that second strike in the 10th, however.
651, 641. Defending champ Leto Monticelli remains alive in the winner's brackets.
Brian Voss is going to record the win over Walter Ray. Walter Ray still has a spare to shoot at, but 712 to 644 if he converts. But at this point, we're chatting to you off the live scoring, so be sure to check that out. We're going to turn the cameras off for a few minutes. As soon as everyone's done, we'll get the bracket updated. They're going to get the lanes oiled here. Then we'll be ready for the right half of the winner's bracket here at Sam's Town. Opening round coverage here at the 2016 USBC Senior Masters. We're into match play now. It's going to get exciting. It's going to be coming up at 11:30 local time. 2:30. .2:30 Eastern. So once again, we will have our 2 and 3 seeds featured, Pete Weber and Rick Steelsmith. Not bowling each other, they are our 2 and 3 seeds. They'll be facing off here on our featured pairs, however. Steelsmith taking on Robert Brown, and Pete Weber taking on Kevin Anderson. So they'll be up next here on Bowl TV. But for right now, we're going to sign off. So For Matt Canzaro, I'm Aaron Smith. We'll be right back
Right back in an hour and a half.
in 90 minutes. Yep.
For the other half of our winners. First round matches here. Check out bowl.com/Senior Masters for the bracket and the matchups for the next half of the opening round. That's the news for now, folks. We'll see you in 1 hour and 30 minutes.